Just a quick heads up.
Yeah, we're releasing a documentary on Friday, Surviving the Virus.
This is Kyle, the guitarist and vocalist.
It's showing kind of us as people, more so than just these people on a stage, you know?
And this is Scott, the drummer. Hello everybody, welcome to Keep It Zen. I'm your host Zenadean, and today I've got Scott and Kyle from the band Emily 7 here with me. And today they're going to be talking about a few things. They're going to be putting out a documentary on Friday called Surviving the Virus, which is their experiences as a band, how they're using the time that they have, and how they're coping with the sudden change throughout the world, really.
No, thanks very much for having us. Like, as you said, we're at Emily 7, and we're releasing a documentary on Friday, Surviving the Virus. The idea behind it, I suppose, obviously once the country got into lockdown, and being a band, especially ourselves, like, most of our livelihood was based on gigging. Like, we'd be out 4 or 5 nights a week, and then obviously that wasn't going to happen because everywhere was shut. So we just decided we'd use all the spare time to kind of focus writing new material that we'd be able to put into our live sets once the world gets back to normal. And the idea of the documentary, it's just so happened I got a camera before the country went into lockdown. So when we were out writing the songs and all, I just hit record, and out of the footage I decided to try and compile it into a mini documentary. So that was the basic idea.
Yeah, honestly, it is a very good documentary, and I can't wait for it to come out properly, because I know it's going to get received very well. For you, Scott?
As Kyle said, he just thought it'd be a good idea to document kind of our experience during the lockdown, since our lives have changed in a drastic amount. I think it's kind of interesting for people as well, because it shows them a side to the both of us that a lot of people wouldn't have seen before. It's showing kind of us as people, more so than just these people on a stage.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing about your band that I've noticed, because I listened to you in anyway, on Spotify, I'd play your songs, but I actually took a deep dive looking down SoundCloud and YouTube, and also the documentary, and you're very live. Your band is very live focused, and you were saying yourselves how you don't release your songs, you put them out live first and see the reaction.
Yeah, I think that's a thing. I suppose one of the hardest things we learned as a band, because we were gigging so much and we kind of used to put recording off. It wasn't intentional, it was just because we were so busy gigging. It was just one of them things we never got around to recording. And when we eventually did, we released an EP last year, Minty's Indie Club, and it was just 4 tracks all recorded in a day. And the attitude, I suppose, we had beforehand, we were just right, we'll go in and record it live as if we're playing a gig. And don't get me wrong, we released that and we were happy with it at the time, but as time went on, we not as happy. I don't know.
We kind of realised that the songs had a lot more potential than what was being displayed on Minty's Indie Club. There was a lot of production side of things that could have been done a lot better. And I suppose when I started college and I kind of started doing a lot more about music production, I was listening back to the tracks and I was like, no, this could have been done different. And we took actually one of the track each day to go and record that again, because that's usually the most popular and well received song whenever we play live. So we went off and recorded that in Darkland Studio. It was in March, and we spent the whole day just on the one track, and it sounds really good, and we were planning to kind of get a release and all soon enough, but since all this coronavirus stuff is happening, we're going to just play it out, see when we can get a release. Hopefully, if everything's okay by June, we'll be able to get it out by then.
That's pretty cool. Leading on from that though, I was gonna ask, since this has all gone down, do you still approach songwriting the same way, where you want it to focus more on the live first, or do you try and get it so it sounds better in a studio, or do you do a hybrid of the two?
That's actually a very good question because, as I said, when we went in to record Minty's Indie Club, we were just under the impression like we go into the studio, plug in our instruments, and play as if we were doing a gig. And to a certain extent, that was our own fault how the sound turned out because we were so headstrong, being like, no, this is what we want to do. We want to record 4 songs in a day, which looking back was a stupid thing to do, yeah. But as Scott said, we went in to record. Funny enough, like just before all this coronavirus, we were doing a lot of recording. Like we went into Darklands to do Stay, and we recorded an acoustic track with some mates of ours, Barry and Jer, and we went up to Derry with our mates in Touts to record. And one of the lessons that we learned, I think, was there's no harm in doing things like multi-tracking some vocals and adding an extra guitar on because it just basically it makes the world a difference. So I think that is something we'd be conscious of from now on if we go into record. Like I think we know ourselves, like in some of our songs, being like, oh, when we record this, there could be backing vocals or an extra guitar and that here. So I think it is a mixture.
I think like the songwriting process, we don't really approach it with any kind of sense of, oh, will this sound good live, will it sound good recorded? Because, you know, there are a lot of songs we have that we know would sound amazing recorded, but we just couldn't do them live because, you know, pianos and stuff are involved, and as a two-piece, that's just, it's not going to happen.
Yeah,
but,
of course.
If a song sounds good and it's possible to put in the live set, we'll kind of test the waters a bit, do that a few maybe, you know, small open mics or something to see how people react or see basically just how it sounds. And if it sounds good and it's received well, you know, it will be added into the set as kind of a more regular song.
Yeah, I think as well the actual songwriting process, like even in the documentary you see, like it'd be very easy, and I'm sure there are some bands and artists who are kind of taking this opportunity to write more kind of morbid songs because it is a morbid time for the whole of the world. Like people are missing their friends and their family, but I think our approach is to still kind of keep them chirpy and upbeat because the way we're thinking about it, these songs won't be debuted until we're able to play live in a venue for people to kind of have a good time and have a dance and all. So I don't think we've let the horrible situation kind of make our songs more morbid.
Absolutely not. I could easily tell from some of the snippets. I'm really looking forward to the first song that was shown. You don't mind if I like mention the name of it, do you?
Yeah,
No,
no,
go ahead.
Oh, cool. It's called Do You Speak Any French? I'm really looking forward to see how that song sounds when he's fully incorporate the ideas when you're able to, because I thought it was a really cool setup and idea for it, and it sounded good at the time as well.
Yeah, it was fun. See, the hardest thing as well, like obviously two brothers living in a council house, like we can't be out playing a fucking full drum kit with a guitar amp turned up to 10, like, so when we write the songs at home, it's like, as you see in the documentary, like it's real stripped back, it's just pretty much an acoustic guitar, but in our heads we're visualising it as a full band. I think even in the documentary you see us kind of talking to each other, being like, oh yeah, it sounds good, but when we have it in the full electric setup, maybe do it this way and that way. But I think that was one of the first songs that we kind of wrote together, and we were kind of like, right, this is actually good, how our ideas can bounce off one another, you know?
Yeah. Yeah, no, that's... Yeah, I can totally understand where you're coming from. Especially... how... I also noticed you had like a piece of paper, and you had like, I don't know, about 30 songs on there? You probably have like way more now, considering we have a lot of time. But on like, say out of 10, how many of those would you consider chasing further? Like, what's your success rate in your draft?
Well, there's 19 new songs there.
If we could come out, I'd personally say and use between 8 and 10. Yeah, that'd be kind of a success rate for me. 8 to 12. Anywhere in that bracket I'd be happy with.
So around like over half the songs.
Pretty much, like the only reason, like there are some songs, especially the kind of first ones that we decided to write together, that more or less as soon as we finished writing them, we were kind of like, we'll probably never use this, just for the fact that we didn't feel it was good enough. And there's some other songs, as Scott said, like we wrote a song on piano and that, and there's real kind of slow, more so ballady songs. And as much as we really like them and possibly maybe in the future we'd record them as a B-side but never play live. It's just one of them things. We couldn't add it into our immediate live set, you know. But there are some of them that we really do like, and as I said, once everything gets back to normal, I'm sure once you come into rehearsals and learn the songs properly, if we get 8 to 12 that we can gradually incorporate into the set, I think we'd be happy with that.
Yeah, no, that's a pretty good success rate. So you've played loads of places. You played the Workman's, Whelan's. You've even had like a spot in Electric Picnic. How was that?
Electric Picnic was a weird one. Scott couldn't get in because he got refused because he was under 18 at the time. So,
oh, that was horrible.
Yeah, so that was a bit shit. But like, I just had to do it. Would have been an acoustic gig, and anyways, just for the stage it was at. So to make it even, like, obviously we would have loved it to be the full electric set, but we weren't going to refuse a slot at Electric Picnic. Like, that's what
obviously
a lot of artists fucking aspire to do. So it was just kind of, it was obviously just me solo and an acoustic guitar, obviously doing the MD7 songs. But it's a weird thing because I don't know if you've ever been to Electric Picnic. Like, I went a few years, and it's completely different when you're there. How do I say it? It's
to
like,
perform, right?
Yeah, it's completely different kettle of fish altogether when you're there to perform as opposed to when you're just there drinking cans in a field all day with your mates. Because when you're performing, you're kind of like, oh, I have to go to bed early the night before because I don't want to be drinking too much to mess with my throat and all. So it was a bit weird in that sense, but it was just one of them bucket list moments, I suppose, especially as a band, because it made people take us that bit more seriously. The fact that we're getting slots at Electric Picnic, like, we must be doing something good, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. When you have a spot, especially when you're not the headline, I find it really important when you're not the headline, because that's your time to make a statement, to make people want to listen to you, and that can be more nerve-wracking than, like, if you say open up for someone else and you bomb. I feel like that'd be way worse than you bombing in your own set, because you could easily bring it back and one bad performance isn't going to be that bad. But if you get that...
Exactly, that's kind of, it's like, it's even like support act, you know, because you're playing in front of someone else's crowd, essentially, you know. It's like you could be standing on a stage getting ready to play to 100 people who are waiting to see the band that are after you, but if you do a great set, that'll, you know, win, say, half of them people over, so there's 50 new people that could be coming to your future gig, streaming your songs, looking you up on social media. But if you do an awful set, you're going to lose 100% of them people, and that's going to be 100 people who aren't listening to your music, who aren't going to go to any future gigs. So it is kind of nerve-wracking, you know. Well, it's a strange one. It's kind of a double-ended sword, because, you know, you're playing to someone else's crowd, but yeah, you could fuck it up and they could not like it.
Well, there also is a good side to it, considering it is someone else's crowd and they haven't heard you. If you make a mistake here and there, they might not even notice, because they're not used to listening to your music.
That's the thing. Like, I think some people tend to underestimate the thing about support acts. Like, support acts are fucking great. As Scott was saying, it's like they're exposed to a whole new crowd who probably never heard you before, have no idea who you are, and basically it comes down to, right, you have half an hour to impress these people, and if you do a good job, like, people will start following you on social media, come up to you after the gig and all. And if you don't do the best, which thankfully doesn't tend to happen, like, we never really botch it as such, so we just love basically like support acts, because as Scott said, it could even get you out of Dublin. Like, you could be in other counties to completely different crowds who've really never heard of you. So I think it's an important thing for us, and we look forward to doing more in the future. Like, we have a few things in the pipeline, so hopefully once the world gets back to normal, we'll be able to share it with you all.
Well, in that case, say a few years down the line and you're given a choice of, like, I don't even know between how many people, but you have to support for a band or someone, who do you think would either do the best for you or give you the best experience?
See, it's hard to say support acts for us, because we've been going in June of this year, it'd be 3 years as a band, and fucking hell, like we've gigged an awful lot. Like I think by going by IMRO, it's over 200 now. Which, as an unsigned artist who doesn't have any backing as such, like that's a fucking lot of gigs. But we've only had one headline show to date. That was our EP launch, and we sold that out and all. And there was two support acts, Donald Quinn and The Collective. Like they're two great acts, completely different styles of music. So I don't know if I can answer who I'd like to support us as such, but I think...
No, what I was saying is, for who would you like to support the most?
Oh, it has to be the Rolling Stones or something. But
I think personally for me, it's something that I'd really be interested in. See, we went up a few weeks ago to record with a band in Derry, Touts, and they're fairly kind of big. Like they do a lot of good gigs and get a lot of good slots. But I remember we first met them in 2018. They were sponsoring Paul Weller, and we just got talking outside the venue. And then I remember they supported Blossoms in the Olympia as well. And I got to know Matthew, so and I was waiting outside, and he just walked up with Mark, that's their manager. We were talking for a few minutes, and then I was like, oh, kill. And I remember walking in, and I thought it was a great set, you know. And then I don't know what it was. I was texting him. I think I was asking for a support slot or something, and he basically said, like, you can come up and record with us if you want. We don't really have any gigs coming up, but if you want, we can, you know, come up and trying to get into the production side of things. And look, I thought that would really kill. You know, I would really like to support Tilts because Matthew and Mark they're the two that I've met. You know, that bang on. I wouldn't mind being stuck in a bus with them for 3 weeks.
Yeah, not definitely. Like it's because especially in music, like we really appreciate someone like that. You know, kind of taking us under their wing, because obviously every acting musician, like any kind of arts, like you're busy, focused, doing your own thing. So for somebody to take time out to give you that little bit of attention, like obviously, fucking really grateful.
Yeah. And I grew a lot more respect than I already had. I grew like a lot more as soon as he said, yeah, you just want to come up, like we'll put you up for the night and I'll stay the weekend. And then it just kind of made me like, yeah, you know what these know what they're on about, you know what I mean?
Yeah. That's actually a really heartwarming story. Holy shit. Oh fuck! I don't even know where to springboard off of this.
It's one of them things. Like we have a headline gig in Whelan's. It was actually meant to be the 16th of next month, but obviously everything was cancelled, so that's been rescheduled to the 10th of October, I think. So ideally before this like coronavirus started, our plan for the year was like we had a few gigs at the start of the year, like we had a couple in Whelan's and the Workman's and that, and we had a few out of county. So our plan was once them gigs were finished, then the headline gig in Whelan's was announced. So we were gonna kind of the time, like I think that was announced the end of January. So our plan was from the end of January up until May to kind of get a bit of recording done and hopefully release something, say, before the 16th of May, which is when the gig was meant to happen. And then over the summer, we were going to look into, festival slots and all that, and then at the end of the year, wait and see what happens. But obviously it's been turned upside down a bit, so I think realistically the plan now, as Scott said, we've recorded a few tracks that are mixed and mastered and ready to go. So we're basically just waiting to pick a right time to see when it's appropriate to release them. Like I think now, being honest, the world has a lot more serious things going on than people caring about an MD7 song being released, you know. Whereas I think it best suits us if once venues and all are open and people can listen to the song and then come and see us and then kind of take it from there, I suppose, you know. Like it'd be a bit of a letdown for us, especially releasing these songs and nobody able to come and see us live or anything like that, you know. So I think we're just waiting more so. Like they are ready to go, it's just waiting to see the right time to release them.
Yeah, I can understand where you're coming from thinking that, because I know you're a very live centric band, and my own situation is I started this podcast a few weeks ago, about a month ago at this point, and because of all this, people have more time to listen, and they're more willing to listen to new things because of how bored they are. Obviously, some people are more stressed, and they're everyone's trying to do their own thing. Some other people are trying to get into music as well, so there's more competition. But I've noticed, at least for myself, I'm listening to music a lot more, even when I'm doing other things, just to pass the time.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like I think with all the free time, people are kind of spending it differently to how they normally do it. Like I started playing FIFA the other day, played Xbox in 6 or 7 years, and I think it was the thing more so a coping mechanism for us. Like that was why we decided to write all them songs and then the documentary, even because if we didn't have that, we would have went mad. Like music is basically our lives, so if we have this free time, we just wanted to dedicate it to that, you know.
The draft of a plan we kind of have in my head. I would like to get one of the songs released, maybe. I'll hope when we come out of this lockdown soon enough. I would like it to maybe get released in June, July-ish, and then kind of to kick back in, write everything back to normal, and then before the headline gig in October, I'd maybe like to release another one in August, maybe, to kind of promote the gig. So if all goes to plan, that'll more than likely be the basically a run of events that we have,
Yeah, like it's just unfortunate to a certain extent. Like obviously, festival season and all that's not going ahead. And don't get me wrong, I know there's a lot more important things to be concerned about, but I think all bands and artists just kind of have to take a step back and reapproach how do I going to tackle this year, Like as Scott said, it'd be ideal to have one of the tracks out, say, in the summer and then a month or so before the headline gig. And we'll see what happens then. Like we probably get a few out of counties at the end of the year, and then literally from the start of next year, we'll delve into them support acts that we were thinking of. Well, not that we were thinking of, that were in the pipeline for this year, but obviously they've been rescheduled. So it's basically like we're not stopping what we were doing. It's just obviously we have to reevaluate how we're approaching it,
Yeah, absolutely. But springboarding off the earlier comment, I was going to ask is near enough the start. I know music is a huge part of your lives, but whenever you're not recording or writing or planning, do you what do you do? Do you pass the time by trying to find new acts? Do you listen to acts you already listen to, or do you just do stuff that's not even musically related at all?
It's kind of a weird question. Since I was 14, 15, that's when we kind of started this band. It has been nothing really but music for me. To some people that might sound sad, but it's just, I don't know, since being 14, 15, I can't remember exactly what age it was, but when I was in school and all, coming up to me leaving cert even, I hadn't know in school whatsoever. I was going out nights before, going gigging, coming in the next day and sleeping through classes. I just never took interest in a lot of other things now. Obviously now I'm not 24/7 now. I have dogs that I have to look after. I have I have girlfriends that I have to go out and all, and I have my mates and all, and obviously we go out drinking on the weekends and all, but I think the main thing about the two of us is that no matter what else is going on, music is always the number one priority.
Yeah, I think I don't know how it is for other bands. Obviously we're different to a certain extent because we're two brothers. We live in the same house, we sleep in the same room. So it's never the thing that when we play a gig, we finish it and we're like, alright, I'll see it in fucking 3-4 weeks. We might have a rehearsal and then think about we might do another gig in another 3 months. It's not like that at all. As soon as we finish rehearsals, we're on the bus home being like, right, we get a gig for tomorrow or the next day or so. It's just constant Emily 7, so it's never the thing we switch off as such.
The two of us are though avid music lovers, and we just go to gigs. We listen to all sorts of music, way different to the music we play. And we go to small gigs, we go to big gigs. We just listen to music. There's all chances are if you walked into this house, there'd be music playing somewhere. whether it be just me ma or dad or my sister or me or Kyle, it's gonna be playing somewhere.
Yeah, like it's a thing as well, especially only like I know this is true for the two of us, but since starting our own band, like I think like the majority of people, like not a lot of people would go out of their way to kind of discover unsigned, unknown acts for themselves. You know, on a random Monday night when it's fucking pissing rain and there's two people in the place, but there's an act on. Like I never used to do that before I was in a band, but since I've been exposed to this kind of Irish music scene, if you like, I'm always on the lookout. Oh, there's a gig in this venue tonight. Oh, I wonder who's on. Oh, I wonder are they any good. So that's kind of opened my eyes to a certain extent. Like we mightn't be playing, we mightn't know the acts, but it's just kind of to develop my own interest, you know, because you could see an act that you really like and then end up following it. You really like their music and all, but as Scott said, we're not interested in much more than music. Like fucking music, football.
Yeah, like I've, you know, mates on that are mad for computers and shit like that. Like that's their passion. But I think just like I'm not really used to doing anything else, if that makes sense. Because since being a kid, I've kind of grown up and it's just been music. Like I'm not kind of into anything else. You know, I couldn't see myself doing anything else. So I read books. That's what I read books. That's what I do. I like watching films actually as well. But like that's the stereotypical thing which you're interested in on like a Tinder profile. Oh, you're interested. Oh, I read books and watch films. It's just like it's. I think everyone does, but like yeah. I have a dog. I like bringing my dog out.
Yeah, he likes walking the dog. I like watching football, but other than that, it's kind of if you don't like music, then.
But even when I'm walking, I'll have my headphones in. So it's just, like it's just constant all around, you know.
Yeah, I totally get you. Considering yous, as you say, spend like even when you finish a gig, you like live together, so you have to go back. And I know from the documentary and in general, you have this if one person doesn't like it but the other one does, you just don't go through with it. You just make sure you both agree on it. But has there ever been a situation where you are like, say for example, Scott, you have this idea that you really like, and Kyle's like, no, that's not a good idea at all, and he just wants to scrap it, but you're headstrong enough where you want to convince him to fix it up rather than scrap it?
I think we have a lot of trust in each other. Like I think if Kyle thinks that something's good, but I don't get it, I'd kind of not. But if we didn't like it and said no, this is a shit song, turn it off, that'd be different. But if I kind of said to him, look, I don't get it, but I can work with it, it'd be like we'd change maybe certain bits to make it a bit better, and I'd have to trust in Kyle that it's gonna, you know, be a good song in the set. Like there's one song we have, it's called Posh Boys. I know that that's a good song, but I still hate it because I find it hard to play. But if crowds like it, you know, it's just the smartest thing to keep playing it, because any gig that we've done that we've played, it's been well received. So I wouldn't kind of take that out of the set just for my own kind of benefit, if that makes sense.
Yeah. We've never really had instances as such where like one of us is totally for something, the other is totally against. Like there'll always be that compromise and common ground, because at the end of the day, basically what Scott was saying, like we have this trust in each other, and every decision we make and anything we do, it's all for the good of Emily 7 in the long run. So we don't really let our own taste or opinions get in the way. If something's good for the band and it's going to benefit us, then we'll just go with that, you know.
Yeah, I totally get you. For my next question I had, you were mentioning how in the early days you had this mentality of you wanted a song to sound like an Emily 7 song, and you were going on about how that wasn't a good mentality to have. Was that a thing across the board? And if it was, did you both like snap out of it together, or did one realise and tell the other, or how did that work?
I think for myself personally, because I was always like, our songs stay anytime you do it, literally every single time you do it, no matter where it is or the environment, crowds sing it back to us, whether that be a room full of 100 people or like the Christmas Eve busk with 3,000 or 4,000 people. It's just one of them songs, and like rightfully so to a certain extent. It's become our most popular song, I'd say. So for a long time after that, I always trying to write a song similar and pair with that, but it just never happened. So for a long time, I was always kind of chasing that to a certain extent, but it just never happened. It's like anything in life, you try and force it, like it's never as good or it doesn't turn out the way you'd hope it does. So I just kind of let that go because for ages I did try and write another Emily Seven song, if you like, but I just let that go. And then in this project, like Surviving the Virus, we just wrote what came natural to us. And some of them songs would be completely different to what we've done before, but at the end of the day, like, it might seem like completely different to what we've done, but once Scott adds his drums and I add guitar and vocals, it will be an Emily Seven song. Like no one else wrote it and no one else gonna perform it, you know. So I think it just took a long time to get over that to a certain extent, but I think if anything, the writing's been very strong and it's been very consistent. It's a lot more consistent than it ever has been. Like 19 songs in 2 weeks is a lot, you know.
Yeah, yeah, that's pretty easy to tell. What was it like written in 19? Because like we've been in quarantine now 4 weeks. Have you spent like half that time writing songs, the other half developing the documentary, or?
See, it's a funny thing. It wasn't like the documentary wasn't a plan as such. Like as you were saying, it was just I just so happened to get a camera I just got it because I wanted a camera. And when we were in the shed, I just stuck record on and I started getting all this footage and I was like, it would be cool to do a documentary. But the way that the songs worked out, the initial 2 weeks of the lockdown, we were pretty much writing a song a day, give or take. Like I think at the end of the first week we had 10 songs, and then come the end of the second week we'd 19, and we were going to take a few days off because we would have just burnt ourselves out. But that's when the idea of the documentary came up. So for the following 2 weeks, the week just gone, the week before, we were working on the documentary. So I'm interested to see what we'll do with the following week we have left on lockdown.
Probably conceptualize a music video or two, who knows. Yeah, no, that's really interesting. So when this is all over, what's the first plan? Is the first plan go to record the songs you've created or try and get a live show?
I think just basically get back out there live, you know, get a few support slots if we can, get a few, you know, big ones that are, you know, in more reputable venues than we've done before. And just kind of get back out there live with a bang, just kind of maybe reevaluate everything that we've done for the previous 2 years, you know, how we've done wrong, what we've done right, see what we can improve, see what is already at the best level it can be, and just basically just take a bit of time to review everything that we've ever done and how we can improve it. You know, but I think the live thing, you know, getting back out live, that's the first thing that we need to do, you know.
Yeah, like I think because God only knows how long these restrictions and all are going to be in place. So as of now, like the only 2 gigs we have booked are due to do a festival in Wales in August, but God only knows if that would go ahead with the way things are. And the MCD has been rescheduled to October, so it'd be good, I think, kind of in the build up to the headline gig in Whelan's. I'd like to even go to a few open mics, like unannounced. We won't publish it on our social media, but they'll act as kind of rehearsals for us, where we can try out some of the songs and see how they get down with a crowd, you know.
Where do you expecting like the pubs to advertise them, or you want to let them know on the Keep It Zen podcast? Nah, I'm just joking. Obviously, there's like no way you'd know.
Yeah, it's just it'd be if we see anywhere, like it could be a last minute thing. We see there's a pub or a bar or something having an open mic, even if it is on a Monday night and it's lashing rain, and we know there's going to be nobody there, bar fucking 2 people, the bartender and the dog. Like we'll just go to kind of see how we get a feel for the songs, you know. Because I would like to kind of this headline gig in Whelan's, I'd like to have a good few of these songs incorporated into the set, and hopefully by then they'd be somewhat regulars in the set, so people would hopefully know them, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. But speaking of like, kind of, say you go to an open mic or a live show, Are you the one to set that up, or is that Jamie? Because I know Jamie handles a lot of the behind the scenes for your band.
See, lucky enough, because we were a band for give or take 2 years, say, before we met Jamie. So a lot of people, we kind of developed a lot of contact ourselves. So we did a lot of great contacts, starting off like open mics and all that. But when Jamie came along,
it was more official kind of contact. You know what I mean?
Yeah, like he'd be the bigger promoters, the likes of MCD, and he'd deal with labels and all that. But when it comes to the likes of open mics and all, we'd have done a lot of the groundwork ourselves from the first 2 years. We'd have a lot, but Jamie does the more important work.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, it's great though, because it gives us kind of it allows us to focus on the music, and he can deal with behind the scenes and the email and all the board and stuff like that.
How like close is he in the type of the band? Like obviously he does the big work, but is he an integral part, or is he like he comes in from time to time and helps you with the big stuff?
I feel too close at this stage.
I think the reason we kind of we did choose to go with him as a manager. He was very dedicated from the very start. He got the sound and all that he got the music and the fan base we were aiming ourselves at, and he was just very hands on with everything. He was very motivated, had very high hopes and still does, and he kind of helped us, I think, realise our potential as well. And he's, it's someone kind of starting at the same level as us, so it's kind of in his best interest to make us as successful as possible as well, so I think that's kind of a big pushing factor for him.
Yeah, I think one of the reasons as well, there was no bullshit from him. Like when we met him from the first time, he was like, look, I've never managed before, but this is what I'm passionate about. I have all these contacts, this is what I'm able to do. And we liked that, and as well as that, like he's our mate, like we've a ridiculous amount in common, and he knows what we want to do, and he's able to help us with that. So it's kind of a match made in heaven,
Yeah, absolutely.
I think now at this stage he'd definitely be an integral part of the band. Maybe at the start not as much, but I think definitely now with everything that has kind of accumulated from the help of him, I think he's become a lot more serious as well.
Yeah, like as well as that, like when people look at our social media, see this band and gigs and all that, but the fact we're brothers, like it's a personal thing as well, because obviously we live in this house for family and all. So the thing with Jamie as well, like even if me and Scott are ever fighting or whatever, Jamie will come up and kind of mediate and try and sort things out, and also it's not a strictly professional thing, like we are humans as well. So I think that's a reason the three of us get on so well.
Yeah, it's nice to have that, like, just to have a good friend as a middleman. Does your business and friendship get jumbled up? Obviously, probably not between you two, because you've been doing it together for so long as brothers. But like, say with Jamie, would you have something in mind, but he would not say that he'd know better, but he would think that this other thing would be like, say you want to do an open mic, but he has a bigger gig, like just right around the corner, and he's saying you shouldn't do the open mic. Like, does that ever happen?
Yeah, no, like obviously he's thinking from more so a managerial standpoint, and there's some things we might suggest or have ideas for that he wouldn't be into.
Look, we've never kind of disagreed. If Jamie has us, a bigger gig booked, like then going to say if on a Monday night there's a regular open mic that happens in Chennai, and say for that Monday night we had been planning to go into, it's just a thing you walk in, put your name, like walk out. It's not that where you're booked or advertised that. It's like, but if we were planning to do that and say it was the Monday morning, Jamie rang us and said, come here, I have a better support slot, it's in so and so, I think we'd obviously go with the support slot. It wouldn't be a thing that we'd be like, no, we want to do this open week. I think all three of us just kind of aim to get what's best for the band.
Yeah, that's a fair enough train of thought. It's a pretty obvious one too. Yeah, so you've written all these songs and you've gotten to the point where you are. What's your end goal in all? Like, do you want to be, say, the biggest live band in Ireland, or do you want to be big around the world, or do you want to be known for both your live shows and your recordings, or what is like the main thing you're aiming for? Not in like the very long term, but like 2, 3, 4 years from now, say.
Like, realistically, every single band will start off, like, not only yourselves, and anyone who tells you different to what I'm going to tell you is lying. Every single person who starts off in a band will write an original song, and when they play it, they think they're going to be the Rolling Stones. They think they're going to conquer the world, but realistically, that isn't going to happen, because you're not the Rolling Stones at the end of the day. But I think it's not that it's hard, but it's a different time for bands now. Bands are going to conquer the world the way they would have done 20, 30 years ago. It's just like, they're not mainstream as such. Like, if you look at the mainstream charts, it's very rare that a band, unless they're as big with a status like the Strokes or the Arctic Monkeys, will get into the top 10 of the charts. Like, the kind of smaller bands won't do so. So I think realistically, we're inspired by, the likes of Inhaler and all that, who are breaking out of the country and making their own name. Like, they're not colossal superstars, but they are making a living with music and doing what they love, travelling the world. So I think that's the end goal.
My kind of main aim, to have a, whether it be big or small, I just want to have a dedicated kind of fan base that likes my music. And that's all I ask for, I don't think there's any point in aiming to become like the biggest band in the world. Obviously that's everyone's dream, but I wouldn't be disheartened if it didn't happen, because I'm not even 18 yet, and the amount of stories I could sit here and tell, sure, it's more interesting than a lot of other people's lives that are 50, 60 even.
Yeah.
I think it's honestly, I'd like to make a living off music. That's kind of my end game, because I don't want a real job. I really don't.
Like, at the end of the day, it's something that we love doing, and it's what we're passionate about. Like, as of now, like, I don't know if I can picture us doing it when we're in our 30s still at the same level. Like, I think if it gets to a certain stage, and like, realistically, if nothing happens as such, whether that gets signed or go to the UK, get a decent enough fan base, like, I think if we're 30 and still doing the same thing, we'll probably pack it in. But as of now, we're driven more than ever to kind of make some sort of a name for ourselves, so I think we'll be around for a little bit longer. And anyways,
let's say you do make that name like you're intending, and you are able to live off your music, and it's a good few years down the line, you can't really perform the same songs like you used to. Do you change the way you sound, or do you just like slow things down, don't do as many gigs, or what would be the idea there?
It depends on what we write. Like, if I'm like, in the documentary we talk about how we're writing about things that are relevant to us, and obviously a lot of that stuff, being young, and I'm not saying this in kind of a cheesy way or but it is a lot of fast paced kind of stuff happening around you, and it's a lot it's very exciting kind of a time in your life where you're still kind of this young. Like me, for example, I'm 17. I'm kind of in that bridge between being a child and deadly. It's fucking savage, and but it's if I'm 25 and I'm writing songs, I don't think they'll be the same as the songs I was writing when I was 17.
Yeah, like realistically, I'd find it very hard to picture ourselves, if we're still doing this when we're 40, I'd find it very hard to picture ourselves singing songs like Take You Home or Stephanie. It seemed a bit kind of false to a certain extent, because they're kind of moments in time that are about being young and all that. So I suppose it'll just change as we get older. It's one of them things that we'll have to wait and see what happens, but I think it is a natural thing. Like, if you look at a lot of acts and artists, like fucking Paul McCartney wasn't writing songs like Love Me Do when he was in his 40s, like, I think that does get to a stage where things will change, but as of now, we're not too focused on that. I think we're just focused on,
and I think it'd be more of a kind of gradual and natural change as well. Like I don't think it'll be a thing where one day like we just release a lot of music with cellos and all around. Like I don't think that, but I think I don't know. It's a weird one. Like we have a lot of material written that's we both kind of say, yeah, that's classic second album kind of tracks. Like we have a lot, obviously the 4 tracks on the EP, and then there's a few other songs that people know, like, just from seeing us live, that are kind of fast paced. My plan would be to basically get them all out on a first album, and then I would kind of like to not make darker music, but I'd like to change the sound a little bit and kind of move away from that kind of pop rock indie kind of thing, and just kind of I'd like to experiment a bit in terms of the second album, make a name for yourself. You know.
Yeah, like you said it earlier, Delph, I've seen the documentary, like the notebook on the front of it, it's like the name of all the songs. Like, I think the last time I checked, like obviously there's the 19 ones that we wrote in lockdown, but I think overall there's 51. Like, and if there's 10 to 12 songs on an album, like we kind of know ourselves, if we were given the chance to release the debut MD7 album tomorrow, we'd kind of know the songs that are beyond that. But as Scott was saying, like a lot of songs would be kind of like, right, this is a bit too dark as of yet, but maybe in a few years, like forever releasing a second album or a third album or something like that, it'd fit perfect onto that, you know. But I think as of now, like between ourselves and Jamie, we know the type of sound we're looking for now and the type of fan base that we want, so we'll just kind of target the songs in that way, you know.
Yeah, definitely. One of the main things that's easily recognizable is your voice, Kyle.
Yeah, like it's a weird one, because when we started out, like we never wanted to be a two-piece, and I think that's something that some people might know to a certain extent. Like I don't think if you ask any guitar player and a drummer, right, is it going to start the band, it's just the two of yous, they'd probably tell you to fuck off, like, because it's so hard. Like we were looking for more people, and I just wanted to be the guitarist and Scott's drummer, and we were looking for a vocalist and a bassist and all that, but we couldn't find anyone.
We couldn't find anyone good.
So we've just kind of were like, oh, fuck it, if no one else wants to do it, then we'll do it. So that's the only reason I started on vocals, and we started as a two-piece. Like it is that bit harder because you have to kind of flesh out the sound, because there's no bass and there's no second guitar to fill the gap, so we have to find that, basically to find out a way to make it work. And I think that to a certain extent has impacted the songs, because at the end of the day we have to think, right, off live, so it's just one of them things. Like I never really think of vocalists as such, you know.
Yeah, that's fair enough. I was more asking, like, do you ever get those situations on stage where you might like fumble your words, or you feel like the microphone isn't loud enough? Would you like join in and help up as like an extra layer of voice to get the boom out, or would you just leave all the singing up to Kyle?
I'd like to kind of leave all the singing up to Kyle. Like there's one song where we have backing vocals, and there was maybe a few songs that I could pitch our backing vocals on that we have written during the lockdown, but no, not really. I just kind of like being at the drum kit and just, you know, bashing them out to bits, you know.
Like obviously there is that bit more of a risk, because the fact there is only two of us. Like if we go to a gig and there's an issue with the microphone and it's not working for whatever reason, yeah, we always just kind of make hand signals to Jamie to kind of get him on sound engineer and try and fix it. But yeah, I suppose at the end of the day, like there is more than the two of our shoulders, the way it is literally the two of us. Like, so we don't have backup from anyone else on stage, but that's what makes it exciting.
It is a big risk as well, because like without a bass player, you kind of feel naked. You kind of feel like you can't hide behind like any mistakes that you make, or that say Kyle makes, or either one of us make. You kind of, you know, you make the mistake, there it is, live with it, and it's just move on. Like it's not too bad. Like I think with the amount we rehearse and stuff, I kind of feel confident that neither one of us will make many mistakes, if any.
Yeah. Especially now, like starting off, like we look back at some live footage of ourselves within the first 6-7 months as a band, it's fucking shite. Like because basically at the end of the day, Scott's a drummer and I'm a guitarist. So if you put Scott in a room with a bass player and two guitarists and a vocalist, it sounds grand. If you put me in a random band with a drummer and a bassist and another vocalist, it sounds grand. But when it's just the two of you and you have to set up to be a duo, it's literally only a guitar and drums. Like, that's hard to do, and I think it took us a while to adapt to that. But over time we have done it. So I'm proud of that, and that's why I think now we're not too keen on the idea of anyone else joining, because we've grinded it out for so hard and so long to get the sound. Like, it's kind of we almost feel proud about it.
Yeah, I remember one thing that stuck out to me, a quote kind of that I seen, and it was Dave Grohl doing an interview. I can't remember what it was. I think it was when he was doing that thing, recorded all the instruments and made a song on his own, and he used loads of instruments. But one of the things that stood out, he basically said, he was like, look, if you put a drum kit in the middle of an empty hall, he goes, I make sure that everyone in that hall will turn to me. Like, he said that he'd make it his duty to make the best out of what he had, which I kind of thought to myself, yeah, if there is only a guitar, I'm not sure that, people are going to stop and realise that we're a force to be reckoned with.
Absolutely. On an earlier episode, we were having a debate about what's like better for storytelling between like music, live action, and animation. And I was saying music because, and it like rings true with your band especially. I love how the limitations that are on music for telling a story, and how the artist overcomes that and makes it their own and properly sets it in while still doing everything they can to make it sound good and catchy. I think it's one of the toughest things someone can do, and you knock it out of the park, especially recently.
Thanks very much. It's just one of them things, like, basically you have 3 minutes, 3.5 minutes, 4 minutes, whatever it is, to come up with some sort of narrative, and you basically have to have a start, a middle, and an end, as I said, all wrapped up in 3-4 minutes, which I suppose if you think about it too hard, it does become that bit more complicated. That's why we don't try and delve too much into it, because we'd never finish a song, because we'd never be happy. We'd just focus to make it perfect,
I think just basically once you get the basic points, like, I think the perfect example, I don't know, I was talking to a friend about this recently. We were having a similar thing just about storytelling, and the subject Wuthering Heights was brought up, and Wuthering Heights, it's an Emily Bronte book, but it's not too big, but I personally didn't like really reading it. I found it very kind of boring, I'm not gonna lie. Yeah. But like, for example, then the Kate Bush song Wuthering Heights, it tells the whole story in like 3 minutes. I would have much rather just gone to the book, gone to the song and listening to it, get the story, instead of spending a few weeks reading that book. That's just one example, though. There are, obviously great live actions and great animations, but I think with us, we just know how to tell a story through music.
Yeah, I definitely agree with you on that sentiment. I brought it up. What am I on do? Yeah, no, that's really. Is there ever a point where, so do you always try to have a concept in your song? Obviously it's important to have a concept, or like, do you leave the concept till the end and try and get the melodies in?
Like, it's different every time. Like, I think there's a where I just turn around and, like, the songs basically start off as guitar parts, and we just try and hum. Like, we could be genuinely blurting out gibberish, just trying to get a structure for a melody and a verse and a chorus. And that's always the hardest part, we find. Like, once we have, the song is basically done, once you have the music and the melody, and the words always come last, for us in anyways. And as we say in the documentary, like, we are only 21 or 17, so the concept, a lot of them would be about, like, drinking, going out with your mates, going out with girls, stuff like that, but it's just who we are,
See, I really, when I was in school, the two subjects I actually were good at were English and history, but I did really like English, and I like kind of playing on words and stuff like that. So, like, I write a lot. No, I write kind of. I wouldn't write any of the music. That's all Coil. But the lyrics are both, like, for example, I remember we were Rada, and we were doing a sound check, and I was just doing the usual 1 2 1 2, and Jamie shouted up, "Can you speak any French?" And that stuck with Coil. I don't know why. Just like, that's a savage name for a song. And then when we actually got down to working on it, which was like only 2 weeks ago, something like that, I remember we came up with this thing that was like a metaphor, that was going to be like a chat up line for French kissing. Do you speak any French? Will you French kiss me? I don't know. It was a weird analogy of the phrase, but I don't know. I think this song tells a story about, this kind of sleazy figure who's trying to chat up a board, and he ends up succeeding.
Yeah, like wacky songs. Like, there's something about wacky songs that are like really endearing.
Oh yeah, 100%. Like there's so many. Like, obviously songs are great for telling stories, but there's also great songs that mean nothing. Like, look at Wind the Waters. What's that about?
Obla-dee, obla-dee, obla-da. I don't think anybody doesn't know what it's really about. It just sounds good, and that's the main thing,
Yeah, definitely. Even like wacky, just like wacky music. Like I feel so bad. I don't remember the person who sang it or what even the song was, but basically he had this. It was like a really dark album where he was going on about his mental health and how it was declining a lot. But he had just one song in the middle of the album, just about a cat messing around in his house, and like went on for like 6 minutes. Like, in the concept of the album, it's supposed to be like his coping mechanism, but like on its own, it's just really ridiculous. And like I kind of love music like that.
Yeah, definitely. Like, I think for me and Scott, definitely, it'd be just, if something sounds good, I'd catch their ear, whether the lyrics be totally nonsensical or it be quirky or something like that. Once this kind of sticks in your head, like, that's mission achieved. Like, I remember reading an interview with Jarvis Cocker from Pulp, and he said, really good lyrics aren't going to save a shy song, which has always stuck with me, because you can over obsess about lyrics and try to be poetic and like James Joyce or whoever the fuck, but if it's a simple pop song and you have a few like, oh babies, la la la, like, if it sounds good, that's the main thing to us,
Like, I'm a firm believer, like, a group of good musicians doesn't necessarily make a good band. Like, you can be the best guitarist in the world, you can be the best drummer, you can be the best bass player, best vocalist, but it doesn't necessarily mean you're going to produce good songs. I think there's a big difference between someone who can play an instrument and then someone who can actually play a good song, or who can make a good song. Like, me, for example, I have no shame in saying this. I'm not the greatest drummer in the world, and I probably never will be. I never learned how to read drum music. I never learned a lot of the basic stuff that I still can't do. But I can play to a good song, and I can write a good song, and I can make it sound perfect. So I'd much rather be able to do that than like be the best drummer in the world, but be in a shit band that produces shit songs.
Yeah, like, it's just one of them things. Like, as Scott said, when, by no stretch of the imagination, neither of us are the best musicians in the world, but when it comes to Emily 7, we're the best at doing that, Like, if we tried to add anybody else, it wouldn't work. Similar to if any of us tried to join another band, I don't think it'd work. It's just some sort of chemistry. It's just hard to explain. But when it comes together, it's nothing beats it, being honest, for me.
Like, for example, like, a lot of nights, like music nights and all, you can go to, there's these things called open jam sessions, where it's basically, it'll be a group of like really good musicians who'll get up on a stage and they'll all play like separate, not a band or anything, just like, say, a guitarist there, a drummer there, a bassist, and they'll all get up and they'll just start kind of jamming. But some of the musicians you see at these open jams, they're brilliant. They're like, they're mind blown, the stuff they can do on their instruments. But then, I don't know, it just kind of gets boring after a while. Then you're just kind of like, right, like, what's the point in this? And it's just, there's no song really there. It's just kind of music rather than a song.
I do have a counter to that though.
Go on.
Do you know the band Toto? the ones who did Africa,
Yeah.
they're actually
session musicians.
Yeah, they're all session musicians who all formed together, and I think they're like one of the top bands ever.
A total class. Like when you look at the musicians, like Steve Lukather, or like he played guitar and Triller and like the songs they wrote were fucking amazing. Like they played with the Beatles and like Steve Lukather I think was in Ringo Starr's All-Star Band and all totally respected session musicians. But it's just an interesting one because, as you said, they never intended to be a band. They were just session musicians for different people and decided to come together, which is a thing of beauty, really, when you look at the songs that they produced in the most unlikely circumstances that them songs should have been produced. Like, just goes to show that some things can happen in a different or unnatural way. Like, it's not as if they met each other when they were kids and started a band. They just came together, but wrote some of the most famous songs of all time.
And that's one of the sentiments that rings true a lot right now. These are some of the most non-understandable circumstances, but I know yous as musicians, and would you count as directors at this point of the documentary?
Yeah, like it was just one of them things. Like, it wasn't as if we ever set out being like, we're going to make a documentary about ourselves. It wasn't that attitude at all. It was just like, as I said, we were just writing songs and I hit record and I had all this footage and we decided to do a bit of talk over, and it was just, that's what I done in college. Like, I done creative media for 4 years, so documentaries always intrigued me, but the thought of doing more so a period piece, because it's not the story of Emily 7, like that would have been kind of arrogant of us to come out and realistically, when we haven't done anything as such, being like, this is our story, listen to us. It's kind of, I think in a few years it'll serve more so as a time capsule, because when we look back on this we'd be like, geez, do you remember that time we were in a lockdown and we were just writing songs? Like, so it was all done by ourselves. Like, Michael White, who done the music video for Stephanie, like I'm on the phone to him every day, just asking for suggestions, but it was all shot and recorded and edited by ourselves, so I think that's one of the reasons we're so passionate about it, you know?
Yeah, absolutely. Everyone, especially in this call, because I feel like this might sound weird because first of all the podcast isn't nearly as big as the band, of course, and I haven't done nearly as much because I've just started, but I feel like we're on a similar track. I'm not the exact same track, of course, but we're on a similar track. I'm much further back, but we don't have the same end goals, but we're going towards the same place, and I feel like we're both taking a very similar approach into what we're doing, taking our circumstances and molding them into something that would be more useful for everyone involved. Like, this entire podcast is a time capsule. I started this in like the second day of the lockdown, and ever since, the only reason I've been able to get on guests is because everyone's at home. Like, I assume you wouldn't have had time for this podcast if you were able to be out doing live shows.
See, that's the kind of the thing about us. We don't kind of, there's a lot of bands who turn their nose up at things, but like if we're getting offered something like a podcast to sit and talk, you know, we'll do it no matter where it is or who's doing it. You know, if it was in the middle of Mumbai and there was going to be 2 people listening, I'd still do it, even if I didn't, you know, speak a word of Indian, I'd still do it.
Yeah. I think that's the thing about us as M7, because when we started this band, like, we were never in any previous bands or anything, so when we started this as a band, we literally started from the bottom. Like, we had no contacts, we didn't know where to go, how to get gigs. The only contact we had was our mate Anto from Twin Cranes, who works in the rehearsal centre underneath the Button Factory. Like, he gave us a few pointers about how to start getting gigs. So once people did start paying attention to us, we never took it for granted. We were always grateful that somebody take the time to put any attention into it, whether it be a podcast, an interview, a local newspaper piece, a small gig. Like, as soon as somebody shows somewhat of an interest in us, we've always kind of obliged to do it. And you could argue, like, the fact we're getting them bigger gigs like MCD and all that you could. I don't know how I'm trying to word it, but we never turn our nose up at anything related to Emily Seven. Being honest,
You know, like if I wouldn't be that much of a dickhead, to be honest. There's so many kind of people and all out there, and especially during music, that you meet that think they're too big for their boots, and they'll turn their nose at a lot of things, whether it be other gigs, other artists, promoters, whatever. I personally just don't have time for it. I think there's a lot of arseholes. I know I don't want to kind of fit into that bracket.
Yeah, that's totally fair enough. What I'm doing like now is I'm trying to get more musical guests. It started with Sean, but I'm starting to get I'm trying to get more musical guests, and I don't have a big platform, but I do have a platform, and I feel like if someone is willing enough to come on, and it's not even sure, this has been more interview than you's probably expected, but it's still just to sit down and a chat for.
Yeah, no, definitely. That's kind of been the interesting thing for us, because it's not like an interview with set questions. It's just more like
there's only so many interviews you can go to where they're like, where did the band name come from? Why did you start the band? Why did you start the band? Who are you inspired by? What do you have next? And they're the main questions. And why are you only asking me that? There's only so many interviews you can go to where it's the same list of questions, even the same answers.
I looked up as many interviews as I could find to make sure I didn't do that. That's why I did not mention username at all.
Deadly. It's always a letdown when people are always like, "What's the name?"
It literally means fuck off. It
I don't
means nothing.
understand why people have this obsession with their name has to mean
Yeah, people think it's a reference to a satanic cult or something like that, but it's not. Scott just blurted it out and it sounds good. So, I do think it's great for artists basically to get themselves out there by whatever means that is, whether it be an interview with fucking OK Magazine or TMZ, whatever, or if it's something like this. Once you're getting your name out there, that is the main thing.
Whether there's one person or 1 million, depending on what platform you're talking about, I think it's important. I don't think anyone, no matter what level you're, I don't think they should have the kind of.
Us as a band, we've always said this and we'll keep reiterating it. We gig as much as possible. Before the lockdown and all, it was literally 4 or 5 times a week. On a Monday night it could be to an empty room, on a Tuesday it could be packed, and vice versa all along. But some bands, a lot of artists would do, say, 1 gig every 6 months, and I can't fathom that, because we're so passionate about this. It's what we love doing. This lockdown is driving me mad not gigging.
Don't get us wrong either. When this lockdown ends, we're going to be doing an open mic every night of the week, because I'm a believer that the more accessible you make something, the more value it loses. The more value it loses. Sorry. But it won't be a thing where we're out every night. But if we could get support slots on a healthy basis, maybe 1 every 2 weeks or something, we'll still maybe doing these kind of secretive open mic gigs where we don't advertise them, but we're still playing in front of a realm of people who will go to the other, and hopefully then in the end a headline gig. That's kind of the plan as such for us.
Yeah, I think it's just important because we do want to test the waters with these new songs, and I don't know if we're willing. If we get a major gig, a major support act, I think it'd be very risky just to go straight from rehearsals into a gig, trying these songs and hope for the best. I do think we need some practice in a live environment. So we haven't done open mics in a while, so I think that's why once this is over, we might do a few
Yeah, practice makes perfect.
That's the thing. You could rehearse something 1,000,000 times in your bedroom and think it's grand, but when it comes to a crowd and one thing fucks up, the song is ruined. So you need to kind of make it perfect,
Yeah, no, definitely. Because you can do so much preparation work in one aspect, but if you don't account for all problems, there will be some issues to arise. you probably won't know how to recover if you start on a certain song because you're not used to picking up the pieces. Just for an example, I'm really going off the cuff here. Well, yeah, no, I totally get where you're coming from.
Yes, it's just one of them things, like, basically, because you were saying about, you said something like, oh, if you were gigging, you wouldn't have time to do stuff like that. It just comes down to, as soon as anyone mentioned to us, we're more than happy to do stuff, you know, whereas, as I was saying, a band can do a gig every 6 months, and the room be full of their mates and family and never be heard of again. They kind of think that they're bigger than they actually are, because if they only do one gig every 6 months and it's packed every time, they can be like, oh, all their gigs are sold out, and you'd be kind of like, yeah, that's because it's a room full of your auntie and all down the back who 6 months, so that's why it's sold out. But I think it's basically, I think it's an arsehole thing to do if you snub your nose at anything in this game, because everyone's out to help each other, and I don't think anyone would succeed too far if they're not willing to help others as others are helped.
Yeah, like I've two main end goals, right? One, I want to be I want to be on the late night talk show on FM 104. Like, I want to be the host of that eventually. But my other main goal is I want to make myself and this podcast reputable enough as a place for people to come for music and for acts, so that they have a good enough I want to have a good platform for other people to spring off, and the stronger I can make my own, the bigger of a launch I can give other people, and that's one of my main goals at this point, and I think it's turning out pretty well.
Yeah, no, deadly. So we'll even send you on some names of some acts that we know that more than willing to come on, you know. We know a lot of fucking bands and artists who we send over your way, and if you're interested in doing anything, I'm sure they'd be more than willing to participate, you know.
That'd be really great, actually. That'd be stunning. Just, yeah, I'd probably let them know and then take a few days or weeks to look into them, make sure I actually have stuff to ask, because the difference is I'm already well acquainted with your music in the first place, even though I haven't been to a live show. But it's not a case that I haven't been to one of your live shows. It's I've never been to anything live ever.
Oh, so you've never been to a gig in the Tree Arena or anything?
I've been to a football match, but that's it.
Fucking hell.
Yeah, I know. I never really had the proper funds until recently, because I got my own job, and I started building up that groundwork. But then I was a bit too busy, and once I got free time, there was a global pandemic going on, so I couldn't really do much with it. But when all this is over, I really wanted to go see his. I was about to go to, I think he did a show in Workman's near the end of, near the end of the year last year.
It was the very beginning of this year. I think it was the second week in January. It was one of our first gigs back after Christmas, I think. Was it?
I think so. I have diaries with everything written down. I'll have a check.
Yeah, no.
My mind is fluid. My memory has just gone down the drain. I don't know.
Yeah, but be sure to go to the Wheeling.
Yeah, definitely will. Look, yeah. I'll bring a few people if I can, if that's even what you are looking for.
Yeah, no, whatever. So we'll even
we'll send you out 2 tickets anyway for having us on.
You don't need to do that.
No, so we have 2 there, so it's no problem.
Yeah, no problem at all. That's it's just one of them things. People show interest in us, we're always grateful. So it could be a thing then, if you come and see us and then like us, you could even mention us in pass and be like, oh, I saw the band, and then it just spreads like that. That's how you have to do it, you know.
Guys, I really appreciate it.
No problem at all. We arranged that for you. So it's the 10th of October in Wheeling, so it should be good. We're really looking forward to it, you know, especially that it's been pushed back that bit longer. Obviously, it had to be done.
Yeah, of course.
It's just one of them things, but it'd be worth the wait, we promise.
Yeah. and I can't wait for it. We've been going for like an hour and 15 minutes. I'm kind of out of stuff to say. This has been actually really great. I've started doing this thing where do you have any final statements that you want to let my audience know?
Just give Scott a second to think there.
Yeah, hold on. I'm trying to think of something good. See, I did have something good to say when we were talking about goals, but we kind of went past that. So
You go ahead.
Right, you know what? I'll go back to that, right?
Yeah.
Right. I think the goals that we all kind of set out about being on the FM 104 talk show and then, us trying to get where we want, they're all realistic goals, and I think that's very important to have, no matter what you do, have very realistic goals. Like me, for example, I'd love to be an astronaut, but I don't really think that's possible. I wouldn't know who to turn to go and become an astronaut. But I think the goals that we have set out in music are realistic, and I think that's very important for anyone who's, in any field of life. Just keep your goals. I'll finish on that. Keep your goals real.
Yeah.
Anything for you, God?
Stay safe and don't do drugs.
No, I suppose that's good, just to build on that. Like, it isn't to have realistic aims and ambitions. Obviously, dream big and all, but at the same time, like, Scott's never going to be an astronaut. I'm sorry, Scott, but it's just like, I don't know. I can't follow Scott. I'll just say, go to the headline gig, October in Wheeling. That's my final statement.
Alright. Thank you for joining me, guys. Don't forget to watch the documentary on their YouTube channel. Right now I can't really put a link to it because it's not out yet, but once it does, I'll put a link to this and slap it in my Instagram story. I really hope you all had a great time. I hope you two had a great time on the cast.
Yeah, no, it was
yeah, deadly. Thanks for having us. As I said, it wasn't like an interview, more of a conversation, so
yeah,
we'll send you on the names of some more people we think it'd be good, because as we said, we know a lot of people who love to be on this type of thing, so we'll send you over a few, and hopefully that's a few more guests for your show in the future,
Yeah, that'd be amazing, really. I'll get in touch with them, and I really appreciate it. Thank you all for coming out. Thank you for watching, spending your time with us. Keep it zen.